Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with this edition of Trooper Talk. We have Trooper Hagstrom and we have Captain West here from Parole and Probation. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming here.
Thanks for being here,
Neil. You want to do something, go on a deserted road or go somewhere where you're not bothering anybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The racetracks or the this or, you know what I mean? Like any of these type of things, but there's just no reason to do these type of things,
Yeah, and we can tell summer's here.
Summer's
things are happening. Yeah. And can I add one more thing too,
Neil?
I want to tell people
we have so many things to talk about.
Oh, we do. So if you're traveling, across state or going out of state, always remember, it's hot, so you always put waters in your car. So you always have, in case for breakdowns, make sure your fluids are up to date, your tires are good. Check your tires, and we joked about this before, Neil. I don't know how many times that I've stopped out with somebody that got a flat tire and they don't even have a spare in the trunk. So always make sure that your spare's aired up and that you have the tools to change it. Because some cars have different lug nuts. And if you don't have like a specialty, some of them have locks. If you don't have that lock, we're not going to be able to get it off. You're going to have to wait for your tow service to cut it off or something like that. So be prepared. We did a whole show on just planning ahead. And this is one thing in the summer I ask everybody is just to plan ahead. If you're going on vacation, you got your kids, make sure you got that water and the car is fine-tuned just to make that trip. And that's all we ask. And drive safe. Be mindful to others. Just kind of slow it down. There's no need to, rush like we've talked about. No. Hey, if you're doing 15 or 20 miles more over the speed limit, the person that's doing the speed limit is going to arrive like a minute or two later. So you're going to jeopardize other people for what? I mean, you're not really saving any time, So
100%.
That's what my message for people if you're starting to travel, because the summer months are here and a lot of people are starting to go on vacation and want to travel. So I just want people to slow down and be mindful to others and just kind of always be aware of your surroundings, like the roadway, what's up ahead, so you can react and give yourself some time and distance.
Yeah. I every time I travel on the freeway, there isn't a time I travel on the freeway there's not somebody on the right hand side with the engine with the hood up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That might not have water or who knows what. You know what I'm saying?
And we also, Neil, since you brought that up, that was great.
Yeah.
We also have a move over law here.
Yep.
So even if you don't see lights, I mean, if you see somebody stranded on the far right with their hood up, if you have an extra lane to get over, move over. It's the law. It's required. If law enforcement has a stop or you have a tow truck just with yellow lights, make sure you move to the left of that other lanes so you can do it as long as you can do it safely. If it's an opening, always move across, because across the nation, a lot of officers, it's not from them getting shot per se for doing their duties across the nation. Most of the officers out there are from traffic stops getting struck by the public. For them just standing out there or assisting others, most of our officers across the nation are getting struck by motor vehicles on the side of the road. So always be mindful if you see those lights or you see somebody that's trying to change a tire, always get in the farthest lane away from them. Give them that space. So we don't have a mishap or something where we cause another fatal or serious injury to somebody.
And the thing is too, right, is like most people don't realize is that where you look is where you drive to. And so what does everybody want to do? They want to see what's going on, right? Well, then statistically your vehicle starts drifting that way, right? And you probably experienced that with your inattention with the phone.
Right, 100%.
You start drifting that way because you're looking that way at your phone, right? So that's part of the reason why the move over law is created, right? Slow down, reduce your speed, move over lanes if it's safe to do so, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Sean is talking about, It's because statistically we are more likely to get hit on the side of the road than in gunfire, So.
And especially like in your car, because you have the ghost car. Did you get the lights inside your car too?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
He loves those.
I love them.
He wants to take your car out one day.
Well, because here's the thing. Yeah. I know that people blow past that thing at 125 miles an hour because they think it's like a regular car.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yesterday when I was leaving work, right? I was going out to make a right. I looked to the left, and I saw one of the silver SUVs, right? And I saw the little thing in the front, and I knew it was somebody from parole and probation, or you know what I mean, something like that. And then you looked and you saw the little lights there, and it's like, you know, everybody's cutting in front of the, you know, and it's like, you know, and so they drove past, and you saw the trooper, the officer, right? Because they had his hand like this, you know, on top of his on top of the computer, right? And you know, like, but like everybody's just cutting him off, like, and it's just absurd. And so, like, we need to obey these traffic laws and pay attention to all these things so that we can reduce these fatalities because, you know, it's too much.
Way too much.
It's like you
just
know
one life alone
right.
is too much. And I think in Nevada, since the beginning of June now, statewide, we have 167 fatals so far.
It's too
and
much.
that's just in our state.
The thing is that one person is affecting a whole family, right?
Yeah, our series, a couple of families, you know,
Yeah,
series of
mother,
relatives, everybody.
yeah.
It affects a lot of people.
It just affects the whole family tree, right? And then you add friends on top of that as well, right? So, but that's why we need good people who want to make a difference and help out with this career, right? We're always hiring. And stuff like
yes.
I like how he segued.
You must have you have Officer McClarty running in your mind. You know what I mean?
I get
what were you
Doug's
saying?
out,
Recruiting?
so I got to fill in for him
right,
today,
recruiting.
right?
What were you saying?
Yeah. But like we're always hiring, and we're looking for good people to help make a difference, and who want to help people, right? Like a common answer of why do you want to do this job is, well, I want to make a difference, or I want to help, right? And we do that on a day-to-day basis, right? And we take it to the other end of the spectrum, right? Once that person makes those bad decisions, and you're right, not everybody's a bad person, right? Not everybody continues to be a bad person. Some people just need a smack on the hand and they get back and turn their life back around, right? And get back on the right track. Sometimes they don't, right? Which is where we come in and we supervise those folks. But there's always a second chance. You can always get back into it. Choices are a big part of life, daily life, so make good choices, and we won't have to see you.
I wanted to bring up one more thing before we get to the pictures.
Sure.
Yesterday on the news, speaking of the distracted driving, a gentleman was sentenced for I think DUI and resulting of death or something, whatever it was, right? Two consecutive sentencing or whatever it was. You know what I mean?
16 to 40 years.
Right. And so, you know, when you came here today, I presented you with the Sergeant Abate and the Trooper Felix patch. And so, you know, when it comes to the sentencing, you know, nothing will ever bring back those two wonderful gentlemen, and to see their families, you know, like you know, we were just talking about that, you know, like they want their husbands back.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like they want their fathers back. It's not like, oh well, you know, we get to speak and I'm getting the chills because it's you know, we want them to come back, but there's nothing we can do to ever bring them back.
Right.
It was very heart-wrenching.
But it
being
was,
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to just say I appreciated seeing all the support.
Yeah,
You know what
we
I
had
mean?
plenty
Like
of
there was-
support. The
like there was,
halls,
like,
we had
you
so
know,
many people
and
in the next
Sergeant
courtroom.
Abate's mom, and you know what I mean. She's fantastic, and and all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
support was phenomenal, right? Like the courtroom was packed, right? And then
They had to put other people in
there was
another
an
courtroom.
overflow courtroom next door,
And the halls
right?
were packed all the way back.
Yeah, and at some point there was like more than 220 people viewing, you know, the live stream on Zoom. So we're grateful for the community support, and I'm sure the families are as well. And like I said, it's a ripple effect when you lose that one person. In this case, it was two, right?
Yeah.
So,
And they were great people.
Great,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
for sure.
They made a great difference in the community, and you know, all their work will continue on. You know, yeah, it's a tough loss.
Tough loss. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
very tough.
All right, so you ready? So now this is so let me tell you. So we used to just talk, And then what we found is that people like the pictures because
Sure.
it's one of
Pictures
the ways
and
that
videos,
we can see what we got. So when you see the different news articles, different news organizations in Las Vegas, right? And they put like, the standard picture up sometimes, or like when Trooper Wellman, when we first started doing more and more of the Trooper Talk, she used to take pictures of the people's shoes. Okay? And then when we would have a picture, and it would be a picture of someone's shoe. And that shoe was representative of that person's life who is not here anymore to fill those shoes. And so a fatal crash, someone is losing their life, and even though in sometimes crashes, it can be purely an accident, like, you know what I mean? Like something, like there are those times, but in most of the time, every single time that we keep seeing it, it's because of someone who is doing something that they should not be doing. And especially on the fact, like when you drive on these the freeways and you see these people and they blow past you at 130, 140 miles an hour, they have no regard for anybody.
It's selfless. Totally selfless.
And so then you have something like this happen.
And Neil, this is one of the new things that I start implementing on X, and I think it's going to fall back with Kim up north with the Facebook and all that. But I'm doing just the X or Twitter. But I've been putting this is one of my photos I use for traffic alert, just to let people, because it grabs your attention. So when I have a fatal or something major going, you'll see this traffic alert picture on there, and it'll kind of explain what's going on. I also have another one I did with road closures, because sometimes it might not be a crash, but we might have a road closure because of a lost load or something else happening. So I've made a few of these different ones to make some changes on that. I don't know if we'll ever go back to showing like photos of a shoe and like clothing, because it's just getting, and I get it, it grabs attention, but it gets a little too personal. Yeah, you know what I mean.
We were disallowed to do that anymore.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
I like the idea, but then on the other hand, with the families that see that of their loved ones items, it's so we kind of getting away from showing some of those photos, So it's always tough, but that's one of the things that I wanted to do, is be able to grab people's attention, let them know that, hey, this is what's going on right now. You know what I mean? And put it out for not only the media, but for the public, so they can take alternate routes, and we tell them, please avoid the area, because it's going to be shut down for 3 to 5 hours. Usually when we have a fatal crash, it's 3 to 5 hours average. Some of them might even go a little bit longer, depending on how intense the crash is and how long the crime scene is. Because we do call it a crime scene, because a lot of times it might be an impaired driver that, and it might spread quite a ways, like a quarter of a mile, so some of these scenes take quite a while. So that's why I want to put this out, to make sure that everybody knows, hey, take alternate routes. We got our major crash investigators on scene, and it's going to be 3 to 6 hours, so you have to find different routes. And we don't want you coming to the scene either, because there's no reason for you to be there.
Right.
I mean, we have investigators doing all their work, and just bypass the area if you can. So
and when you see someone that is involved in the fatal crash, and then they end up in your office, right? And one of your officers comes to you and says, person, X, was involved in this fatal accident, they might have to go to prison. Like, you know what I mean? And like, there are consequences that I could only possibly not even want to think about. We've heard the stories of when you have to take someone to jail, how it's not nice. You know what I'm saying? And you get thrown in with all these people, and you're like in there, and you're like, and you could be there for 10, 12, 15 hours, or processing and this and that. You never come back from this. And so I believe very strongly that humans have very, very strong minds, just like you talked about earlier. You know what I'm saying? And I believe in that wholeheartedly. That, like, you know, if we push ourselves, we can do extraordinary things.
Absolutely.
But just in that same token, if you know, if you're involved in something like this because of a reckless act upon yourself, I just don't know how psychologically you would ever be able to come back, and you know, the opposite side of the families that you've like those people are done too, and it's just this huge ripple effect that comes directly into your office from people that are making these choices.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we make better choices, we won't have to deal with the years of ripple effects down the road, right? Because we'll get folks who will come in and you know, multiple DUIs, and they've gotten into the felony range, right? Which is why they come to us to be supervised. And they're either dealing with, you know, substance abuse things that we got to help and get them treatment for, and get them to treatment providers to try to get them back on the right track. Ultimately, it's upon them to continue down that good path, right? And it's tough, right? Because I'm not going to say that's easy. I haven't ventured in any of that, obviously, but we've seen people firsthand, right? I've seen people on the off ramps from when I was a trooper, heroin addicts and things like that. That, you know, it's tough, right? You talk to them, hey, I got you a house last week and got you into that. What happened? Couldn't do it. I walked out, type of thing, right? So, but going back to that situation, right? It's like if you can make that good choice and not get behind the wheel or get in those crashes or make those decisions or get a hold of your life and make those healthy choices, like you said, use your mind and put it to use and get yourself on the right path forward. Typically when they're with us, they may still have all these traumatic memories and things like that are still hanging on to them. So we get them into resources like counseling and therapy and stuff like that to try to help them work through these things, because that one choice could be affecting not only their lives for the rest of their life, because they may be still here on this earth, but again, it's the trickle over to the family and stuff like that. So
yeah, and
It's our kids. You know.
and what I was just going to say is that one of the things that's really wonderful about parole and probation is that maybe people stereotypically could think of, well, you know, all they do is just try to beat people down, and that's not the case.
They're there to help, to reform them.
They give them the resources. You know, if you know, when Officer McClarty, you know, we've always talked that, you know, to find a job, to find a better place to live. You know, we talked earlier about Captain Munoz and the Hope for Prisoners, right? And you know, like, there are people that have made a bad choice, but they're still great people, and they've turned their life around, and so that's a lot of positivity. And that comes from the parole and probation department, because the officers that are there, they do really care.
yeah, I mean, once some people end up losing their jobs because of a bad decision, right, and things like that, and so we always tell people we can get anybody a job, no matter how many felonies, whatever it is. We have the resources to get you a job, right? At some point, you got to take accountability and continue down that path that we're trying to help you, steer you toward, right? But our officers, they kind of have to wear two hats, right? They got to wear the social work side of it, and sometimes be an ear or a counselor and stuff like that to a client or offender, and then they also got to put on the police hat. We've given you X amount of choices and decisions and opportunities. You failed that, so now you may have to be revoked and go back to prison, go back to jail, whatever it may be. So there's kind of a balance in that, right? So you got to kind of steer them down the path. They got to make good choices, and then you're there to pick them up and try to get them back on that path. But then once you give them so many opportunities, because we have sanctions that we got to follow in kind of a matrix, Now you got to go back to court, see the judge, go back to jail, prison, whatever it may be. So,
and those type of consequences come from, not just one thing. And so I want people to know that that the parole and probation department is always there to try to help, and so when it comes to the interaction with a trooper, that may be only for a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
sure.
And for the parole and probation,
There's a lot longer. Helping them out.
Right. And
Yeah, I always joke around and say, like, this is the front side of the house, this is the back side of the house, right? And it comes full circle with me, because when I was a trooper, if it was a DUI arrest or, felony arrest, whatever it was, I see the person, I make my case, I have probable cause, I make my arrest, I drop them off at the jail, fill out the booking paperwork, and I'm done. And I'm back on to the next thing, the next call for service, whatever it may be, right? When they go through the justice system, then they come to us. Now, we may have that person for years, right? So you have the same person, right? And it's funny, because I've seen cases to where we've made an arrest on multiple felonies on the Harbor Patrol side, then I was at the P&P side, and that person was still there and stuff like that.
Oh.
So we're now having regular contact with that person for the next so many years, depending on how they do with their sentence and stuff like that. So.
And you're like very even, like even tempered, right? So like, and so like, I like you see people and they probably recognize you, right? From the
Some, yeah.
And so like, one of the best things about being the trooper, or from your end, is that there's a lot of positivity. From sometimes people make a mistake and they come back and they go, like, thank goodness you helped me, because sometimes people need help.
Absolutely.
That's
what we're here for. I mean, on both sides.
I'll give you a great story, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times we tell our people, we say, hey, this is kind of a thankless job. Well, I'll give you a story of a time when I was thanked. So it was going back to my Tonopah days. Tonopah has this celebration called Jim Butler Days, right? And so we close down the roadway in the main strip for a little bit, and then people have, kind of a small parade. Well, I was sitting there, and I had one side of traffic closed down, and I'm looking, and I see this red car, and I see this teenage kid, young man, and he didn't have a seatbelt on. And so as he's there, I'm like, well, the road's going to be closed. So I walk up and I say, hey, just so you know, if you get in a crash and you're wearing your seatbelt, the chances of you surviving go up, tremendously, right, versus not. So, he puts on the seatbelt. So that very same night, I get called out to a crash. And I have to go down, because we had covered Beatty's beat. Remember I was telling you, the biggest beat in the state. So Beatty was part of our district. So I had to drive, it was probably like a good 80 miles to get to this crash, right?
Wow.
So I show up, and I don't know what's going on. I just know it's a rollover crash, right? And so I get down there, and I get out, and I see that same red car. And I was like, oh, and then it rolled. It was evident, right? So it has all the damage from a rollover crash. And I was like, oh, man. Well, I go walking up, and that same kid is there, but he's standing up and he's walking around the car. And it gave me chills, because I was like, if what I told him made a difference and he wore a seatbelt, then I saved a life that night, right? And so
wow.
I talked to the mom that night, and I was like, yeah, he wasn't wearing a seatbelt earlier, so I actually had a conversation with him. And so to me, that was a rewarding portion of this job.
You did save a life.
Yeah.
Because every rollover,
So, right.
everybody gets ejected.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
And
and
we know
luckily
that
he had
'cause we
that
see the
seatbelt on
aftermath.
because of him telling him earlier, and he kept it
Yeah.
on.
So
lucky.
Yeah, it was.
See, that's what people need to. That's what people need to hear. That's what, you know what I mean. People really need to hear these things, because it's like you are out there making a difference, just by opening up your mouth and just by communicating. You know what I'm saying? It's so important.
Yeah, the thing is we're not always giving tickets, right? But that's what people always hear about. Oh, I got a ticket, this and that, right? we get thousands of warnings, right? And warnings is a good opportunity for education.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, actually, a ticket is a good education because you
That's
know
true.
what? You know, usually when your father used to beat you when you did something wrong,
Back in the day,
it kind of hurts when you have to pay money more
Yeah.
in the pocket, and you don't forget it, because everybody will tell you the time they probably got stopped and they got a ticket for. But were you in the wrong? Yeah, they were in the wrong, but they remember having to pay that ticket. But it also left a everlasting impression. You know, not only that's why we're always respectful and we treat the public with respect and we do the right things, because it's traumatic when you get stopped for a lot of people because they've never been stopped.
Yeah.
So this is something that lasts in their memory for forever. The way you treat them, and if you're very professional and I'm not saying every cop, I'd say probably 99%. You know, every job has somebody that probably doesn't treat somebody as right. Has a bad day or something. But 99% of these officers out there working, they're professional. They tell you what you did, and they're polite, and they're able to listen to you, and you get a citation, and you're on your way. But it always leaves a lasting impression to them for life, and sometimes it reminds them, hey, I do need to slow down. Hey, I did do this wrong. You know what I mean? And in the back of their mind. So virtually, troopers and other officers are just really educating you. You know, whether it's a ticket or a warning, we're just trying to prevent you saving your life, but not only your life, the life of others that are using the same roadways. So.
And that's what was cool is that when we had Sergeant Smack on, part of that division that you were in, you know what I'm saying? That people need to know that look, that if you feel that somebody did you wrong, that there is a part of Nevada State Police that will answer your question. You know what I mean? And so it's very, very important. And so that's one of the best things about the Nevada State Police, the whole entire department of the whole entire family, is that it all comes from the leadership. And from the deputy chief, from the major, from the lieutenant colonel, from the colonel, you know what I mean? Like all of them, it all is filtering down, and it's all for the positive.
And we also have courts. I mean, if you don't think you did something wrong or whatever, you always have that choice before the judge anyways.
Yes, 100%.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, a system is
yeah.
supposed to be a good process for everybody. And it's a learning process. And that's the main thing I was trying to get out is that we're not trying to, make it bad for people and write tickets, and we're trying to be mean people out there. We're humans just like everybody else, have families and everything. But we're trying to educate you and make sure that we make it safe for everybody in our community, because everybody has to use all the roadways, and we don't want people out there driving 120 miles an hour when it's a 65 mile per hour zone, because we've put those up before where we got people traveling over 100 miles an hour on the 215 when I'm in my personal vehicle and they blow by me, and I'm like, man, I'm 5 or 10 over the speed limit, and they're going past me like I'm standing still. Ridiculous.
Yeah. When it comes to the California Highway Patrol, who is a member of the IPOF as well, they are fantastic, and they patrol. And a lot of what people don't know is that a lot of the California Highway Patrol, like especially in the Mountain Pass and stuff like that, I know
Baker,
the commanders
live here
they live here
in Vegas,
right?
Absolutely.
And so then they travel to work every day. And so Las Vegas is a wonderful place. There's a lot of things that you can do and, go and, you know what I mean, and all this type of stuff. And one of the things that Las Vegas and Nevada really has is they really love the police officers. And, the police are always trying to do good things for the community. And so one of the things that you always send me the pictures of is like when you go to the schools and you do all these type of things, because we have to start at the very bottom with the kids.
Absolutely.
Right? And educate and explain
Good
to them about the badge and all this type of stuff. And so when I see these type of pictures, everybody there cares. And everybody there has the same common goal, which is that they really do want to protect. And so I used to drive my car much faster. Okay? And then I realized that how offensively the troopers take it when they catch you speeding. 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour over, they're going to explain to you. But when you start going at a high rate of speed and they catch you, they're mad. And the reason they're mad is because they're just out there trying to patrol the roadways to keep everyone safe, and you're doing things in a reckless manner. And these type of things happen between Nevada and California, where people are always traveling, and so that's why we need the troopers and the motors and all that type of stuff to be protecting our roadways.
Yeah, and let me explain a little bit. It was great working with the California Highway Patrol. This was over Memorial Day weekend, which the last part of May, and we did a joint forces where we had California Highway Patrol and Nevada Highway Patrol merged together between the state line all the way to St. Rose Parkway. Before we even lined up for the Starbucks thing, just in the morning, they already got 8 people well over 100 miles an hour. You know, and this was before we even started the operation. So, but we did this for 3 days, and we got 467 speeding citations. And on the very first day, it was shortly, just not even an hour or two after this is the morning, we got a gentleman at 131 miles per hour and was impaired, DUI, and was arrested. So out of the 467 sites that we had, we also had 2 DUIs within this 3-day span. And what I did, I ended up putting this Highway Patrol Zero Tolerance. I went into our big dispatch center and I said, hey, let's get these signs up, because we're going to let people know that if you're over the speed limit, you're shoulder running, you're doing distracted driving, just even minor offenses, there's going to be a zero tolerance, because it's Memorial Day weekend. We want to slow everybody down. We're letting people know that we're not messing around here. So I had them put that up, and then I took that shot and from the screens inside our dispatch center, and then I got our picture of our group photo, and then I put some other, like a picture of the California and Nevada Highway Patrol doors, you know, so they knew that we were working a joint operation, and put that out. And I put it out to the media that over the weekend I spoke with the media explaining that, hey, this is what's going over the weekend, so we could get that out to the news and everybody else that we're going to have this enforced over the weekend on Memorial Day weekend. One great thing is over that weekend on that 3 days, because usually I-15 from Las Vegas to Los Angeles is considered one of the deadliest roadways during Memorial Day in the nation. Is considered one of the most deadliest. We had 0 fatals over the weekend on that. We did have a fatal in the valley, you know, on the 215, but on Interstate 15 all the way through from Arizona line to all the way into California, we had 0 fatalities during that time, which was great. And we feel that we were pretty effective of doing our jobs and slowing everybody down during that time.
400 people, 131 miles an hour.
Yeah.
First of all, I couldn't even imagine.
And he was impaired.
I couldn't even imagine going 130 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like just on a roadway and just, I mean, like, you know what I mean? You do 70, 80 miles an hour, you're going very fast. And just to know that somebody was so egregious to be impaired and to do these things.
Those kind of speeds. It's crazy. You have no reaction because you're already impaired too. And you're driving that fast.
And if something was to happen where you would need to slow down or do whatever,
or react to anything,
right, you would not be able to. And so when you see this from the trooper side, right, and then the parole and probation, like you see that from both angles, and like it's like too much.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, right, when you're impaired, your judgment's down. You know, you may not even know you're going that fast, right? Second of all, when you are going that fast, if you do crash, it's probably going to be a fatal crash, you know, because there's so much crush and damage that happens in those crashes. And third of all, you go through the justice system. We didn't even talk about the cost of just a normal DUI alone.
Let's talk about that.
It used to be about $10,000. It's probably even more now, you know. So that alone, or that 10 grand is gonna, you know, unless you have money to be paying 10 grand, like that's gonna be a while before you can pay that off, and then you got to go to the court, community service, victim impact panels, those different things.
Insurance changes.
Insurance, right? Like you get that SR, was it SR 22?
Yep.
You get, you
How
know,
long does it take? Probably for a couple years. By the time, like if you got arrested today for a DUI, it would probably loom over your head for, right? Like without a fatal or something.
A lot of the times, just a misdemeanor DUI, first time, second time, whatever it may be, just to get through the court process can be about a year, sometimes longer, right? Because your case can get continued, so you got that stress of, oh man, I got to go to court today. Okay, got continued, like those different things, right?
You got to do your classes throughout that
So
time.
there's just that, right? And then, I mean, back up to the beginning of it, right? You get a temporary license if you're revoked right away. So you get your temporary license, and then if you do get revoked, now you're without a driver's license, and you can't be driving within that time period. If you do, automatically to jail, right? So it's like there's all these different hoops that you're jumping through, right? That are going to affect your day-to-day life. If you're revoked for 90, 120 days, you're going to have to be getting a ride to work now.
Yeah.
You know, or riding the bus, you know, walking, bike, whatever it may be. So
I'm sure your neighbors wouldn't be happy trying to do that for you
I'm
for very long. That
better
probably
have some
lasts a
good
week.
neighbors.
The TV show that I watch on the weekends, you know, where they followed the police and all that type of stuff, you know, it's exactly like you said, because you see people that they arrest and they, you know, they pull them over, right? And then they go back into their car, and then they go, okay, you know, well, this is your 8th time being revoked, or you know what I mean, and so like you're done, like, you know, the license is taken away, and you know they're always wasted, you know, they're the 8th time and then they're wasted again or something like this.
Yeah.
They just don't care.
They just don't care. And so one of the best things is that we have the highway patrol that is out there doing these things. And then I like the fact that you say that that's the front and that's the back, because you need to have something. You need a way to be able to hold certain people accountable for their actions if they're, you know, and thank goodness you caught this person at 130 miles an hour impaired.
And then you know what, we work
somebody.
And what's great about this too, being with parole and probation too, as one department, is we work together as a team. I mean, we're like family. Like, you know, before when we were talking about, hey, we work canine together, it's like reminiscing, you know, because you get those tight bonds and working relationships with others. And this is a great place. We're a small law enforcement agency, even though we're statewide, but everybody knows everybody. It's like family. So that's one of the great perks of working here, because everybody's able to help you. Even though he's on the parole and probation side, he has experience with that. Being a captain, I could rely on him if I needed something done on the highway patrol side, because he's already been there. He's experienced. So yeah, it's a good combination to have with both of our departments working together.
Yeah. We want to thank the public for their assistance and leads for this investigation.
This is another one I put out. We had, remember when I think that you were rolling up onto it, and this was out by Summerlin. We talked about the young man that was struck.
Yes, they caught the woman.
Yes. So
oh yeah, I just read about that one.
We ended up, our investigators did a phenomenal job.
Yes.
All it was we had the deceased. They had some car parts. From the car parts with the numbers and everything, they were able to determine it was a 2017 to 21 Honda Civic. So we had that down. I ended up taking a picture of a Honda Civic just to let the public know, hey, because people just see cars, right? And I wanted them to know what, you know, they're pretty similar design, all of them. They don't change that much, so I put that out. They did have me take it down after I had like 2.9 thousand people, because there's like, we don't know if that's the, you know, the same car, the exact model thing, but it ends up being the exact model that I put out there. But we asked the public for the assistance, and we were so grateful because we had a lot of tips come in and everything, and we ended up this person that hit and struck and killed this person, this pedestrian, ended up taking it out of town to a Pahrump body shop. And the body shop people knew that we were probably looking for this because we put it out to the public that it's going to have right front damage and all this other stuff. So they called our investigators. They were able to come in. I won't comment anymore that what they did, but they did their investigations and found out that this was a match, you know, biologically and with the damage of the car. and they were able to receive their search warrants and make an arrest on it. And just because we help the public come in with leads and
Right.
all this stuff, I wanted to put something out and put a thank you to the public, because we really appreciate people's help, because that's going to help do a little bit of closure for the family, that they have somebody, than just having a case open for years not knowing that somebody just left this person for dead. You know what I mean? And I'm so grateful to the public, and we thank you all for being able to be a part of it if you assisted or gave leads or helped us out. But also our investigators did a phenomenal job at the beginning just to get that information out so we could do that. So it ended up being a good case, but we still lost a life.
Still lost a life.
Still lost a life, and we can't forget about that. It's very tragic what happened. So
We end up posting a lot on the P&P side for people that have absconded, and
we put it up.
Yeah,
just so you know.
They're
Yeah.
gone.
We got the wanted
Yeah.
posters
No,
we
it's
put
a-
up for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah.
we do it. Yeah.
It's really crazy, because when this happened, I go for my drive every Sunday. Go see the lieutenant's grave every Sunday. I put his coins, and I put his patches down so that everybody can take them during the week, like any visitors, so that they always have his patch and his coin.
That's awesome.
And so that Sunday, I left my house, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and it was like all these lights were following me, and I go, I wasn't driving that fast, I promise. You know what I mean? And as I came up, and I came upon that Summerlin Parkway,
Yeah,
I saw that there were two troopers that had it blocked, and then I saw that they were in the middle of the road. I didn't see what they were doing, but I saw that there were people taking photographs, so I knew something had happened.
yeah.
And so everybody was coming up behind me, because it was like a new scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is that the public, they want to help.
Yeah.
And so.
And we're part of your community.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what
I
we're
mean,
asking.
It's like, it's really wonderful. And so to know that, you put this thing out, the person who did this, whoever that person is, who gave that tip, thank goodness, and whoever this body shop was who came and reached out,
Yeah, absolutely.
like that,
Yep.
that's what we're here for. You know what I mean?
And we got outstanding investigators too. Just they've worked the cases from the very end. I mean, from the beginning all the way to the end, and they make sure that everything is just right before it goes to court and trial and everything. So, for this case, what the investigators did, and I can't talk about it because it's going to court.
Right,
But
of course.
they had to do so much background research on everything.
Yeah, that's a great case.
Yeah, great case. Getting
All
surveillance
around.
photos,
All
everything. I mean, all around, they did their job like tremendous. And that's what's so great about Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division. They're our mate investigators. I got to give them kudos, because they're out there, and they're very seasoned because of all the fatals and all the stuff that we have to handle.
Unfortunately, right.
So they really know how to handle everything, and they're very good at what they do. So we always don't want to miss anything for any person or family. I just want them to know that they're always doing the best interest for if there's a fatal for your family, and what's to take place for that. So they're always working obscene hours to get it done right for everybody.
And they want to do that because when it goes to the justice system, they don't want anything thrown out, and this person is led away.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's fantastic. And again, one of the divisions within the Nevada State Police family, that if that's something that you're interested in, you still have to go to the academy, right? We still have to you have to do the 2 years, right? But
Well,
then
it's going to be 26 weeks if you get on. Like, let's say if you want to be a trooper or probation, you got 26 weeks, and then after you finish your academy, then it's almost a year that you'll do a FTO with a ride along. I don't know, is it as long for you guys or shorter?
Same.
A little bit same. Okay. So and like we always tell everybody, if you are looking at this, you can always do a ride along, like we said, for parole and probation and highway patrol. And we also have civilian positions. Like, we're still hiring dispatchers. We really need dispatchers. So if you want to sit in and kind of see what they do, we always ask somebody that just call us. we'll make it happen. We'll get you a seat right next to them, and you can see how it functions and what they do on a daily basis. And maybe that's something that you've always wanted to do. You want to be a part of law enforcement, but you didn't want to be law enforcement. But there's civilian positions that help aid law enforcement. So that might be some other avenue that you might want to do.
Yeah, I mean, those.
So
I tell people all the time, you know, look, on the cards we get the QR code for the recruitment website and stuff. We're always hiring civilians, and we have a ton of them, especially over at parole and probation.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do they do over at parole and probation? They do like
There's a bunch of different jobs. We have from administrative assistants. You know, we're hiring those. We have vacancies for those. We have specialists we have specialist 2s in our interstate compact unit. In our interstate compact unit, we supervise the folks who come into our state who get approved through the compact. It's a federally controlled system. And then our civilians supervise the ones who were in our state and leave out of state to the others. So they manage a caseload, right? They're not making arrests and stuff like that, obviously, because they're in the other states now. But they actually manage a caseload. And then we have our specialist 3s who do the pre-sentence investigations, right? And so what will happen was when somebody goes through the system and they plead guilty or they get convicted, the PSI writers will compile these reports of criminal history, social background, a ton of information, and they send those to the courts for the judges to make educated sentencing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never. So I want to ask it. So someone is in trouble in another state, and then they want to move to Nevada.
Yep.
Right. Or someone gets in trouble in Nevada, and then they move to another state. You still have to.
We still have to
like monitor them or whatever. Right.
So basically, it's like an agreement between states, the Interstate Compact, right? And there's certain criteria people need to meet in order to leave or to come to our state, right? Like they got to have, they can't be getting in trouble, right?
No.
They got to have a stable residence. If there's family member, there's certain things that can automatically qualify them to come, and we call them getting compacted to our state. And then the officers will supervise them to get here, but then the ones, like I said, from our state, our civilians, they're checking in with those other PMP offices. Could be New York, Florida.
Oh, I see, to make sure what their requirements are.
And so they're messaging back and forth, sending reports, those different things, right? And then the thing is if they do get in trouble, they end up having to come back to our state, right? Their permission to be out of state basically gets revoked and stuff like that.
Violating the rules.
Oh,
yep.
Because I see, because you not you personally, but you've allowed them to leave and or come here under certain conditions.
Exactly.
And if they don't meet those conditions, then you say you're not allowed to be in the state.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so if this is something that you're looking at, maybe for employment here, I tell you what, we're always hiring and we're always looking, and you need to just go to NevadaStatePolice.com.
Yeah.
And you can apply for our different positions. We do have active positions for parole and probation, and also for state troopers for Nevada Highway Patrol.
Yeah, those ride-alongs we're doing all the time. That's how I got into this job. Was I went on ride-alongs. And I saw how much fun it was, and I was like,
I did the same thing.
I said, I'm not working in Costco no more. Like I'm not trapped up in a warehouse. I can go out here, have fun, and be running around out, watch a rainstorm as you're driving to a call, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like obviously you got to pay attention to the road, but
right.
And then we do sit-alongs as well with our PSI writers and some of our civilian positions. So those civilian folks who are interested,
yes.
We'll get them set up with sit-along and stuff like that. We just had one the other day.
So the sit-along, I didn't mean to interrupt. So the sit-along is like when they sit with the dispatcher.
Yep.
Correct.
Right, like the same type of idea, right?
Or they can come sit with the specialist,
Specialists and see what they do.
See what it's like writing a pre-sentence investigation. We also have LRS pod specialists, which supervise the low-risk supervision offenders. And they're actually managing a caseload, having face-to-face contact with the offenders. You know what I mean?
And they're civilians.
They're civilians.
Yeah. And so I imagine that there's a lot of people that are civilians that are very, very diligent and very good at these type of activities.
Oh yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And but they don't want to be a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, there's like
so
a
that's very, very cool. You know
so,
what I'm
and
saying?
some will use that as like a stepping stone, right? Like maybe they're like, I don't know if I want to become a police officer, but then they get in and they start managing a caseload or something like that, and then they're like, I could do this officer work, stuff like that. And
Yeah, and you already got a foot in.
recruiting them and going to the academy, right? And a lot of the job knowledge, the institutional knowledge is already there, so it's kind of a nice, easy transition. Or they don't, right? That's just their thing. They want to stay there, which is fine. We love that.
And then they get the same benefits, a civilian, or the pay and the spiel and all that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, different pay scale, right?
Different pay scales.
Different,
But
I'm
same
saying
state benefits.
that's what I mean. Retirement, pension,
Yeah.
The only
and
thing
all that
different
stuff,
for
right?
like officers compared to civilians is we have like a heart and lung bill,
Yeah.
which is just for officers. You know what I mean? For just because of the hazard duties that we have to come in contact, like burning houses, burning cars. The carcinogens in the air. You know what I mean? Stuff like that could affect your heart or other stuff. Firefighters also have that, but they don't have that for the civilian. But that's the only difference. But yes, and the pay grades are different too. But like you said, they can easily transition into an officer job if they decide to do something like that down the road.
Officer McClarty is in his brain because we had the dispatcher here, and Officer McClarty was sitting there, and she was like, she was talking all about the dispatching and all that. And
How
then
she thought about being an officer.
She said, I really could do that. And his ears got like this.
And his
"What?"
eyes got
and
big.
his eyes got
I
big.
get big.
He said, what? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you want to do this? Oh, that's very interesting.
And he
You know
had
what
to
I'm
talk to her afterwards.
Right, he did,
We're
he
going
did,
to make
he
this
did.
work
Right.
if you want to come over. So yeah, it was great.
But it is great, and so we didn't know that, like, you know what I mean? Like I never want to be in that position, nor do I ever want to have to speak to someone in that department in this type of manner. Does that make sense?
Sure.
But the thing is that it's really, again, wonderful to know that if someone is in another state and they need to get out of that state, or they're here and they have a problem and they need to get out of here so that they can live with a family member or something like that, it's nice to know that the Nevada State Police has people that are working there diligently to ensure that they're able to do these things, to become a better member of society, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, like, we understand, right? There's that saying, you're a product of your environment, and some people just aren't in the right environment.
They need to get out of it.
And that's where interstate compact is a good benefit to use, because they may come here and be in a better environment with a friend or family member, right? And we'll look at that and we'll assess that and we'll make sure that it is, and because we want them to succeed ultimately, right? We want them to honorably discharge off of their supervision. So,
and if we can do that, then it's another person that is just another better member of society.
Absolutely.
And again, like I always come back to that, the people are good. You know what I mean? Maybe there's bad people, but I'm just saying that,
but most people are good, and they're trying to do the right thing. And like we said, some people just get caught up in bad situations, and they want to get back into being a regular citizen. You know what I mean?
And be able to have people that are around you that are positive, like, everybody that's part of the Nevada State Police family. You know what I mean? They they do want you to succeed. You know what I'm saying? And to get you off of the parole and probation and stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, like we jokingly say we have job security because people keep getting in trouble. We would like less job security. Tell you what.
Have a better society, right?
I mean, to give you an example, we supervise more than 10,000 people here in the Valley. So we need a little less job security, and society needs a little less job security.
Right. But it takes a lot to supervise, because every one of those people is a real, not to say a real person, but an individualized person with individual problems and all that type of stuff that they need someone to be able to talk with. And again, I come back to the leadership, right? Needs to be able to filter down to the people that work for them and say, okay, like, this is what I'm here for, and this is what I can do for you, and
this is our mission, our goals, what we need to accomplish for that time.
Right.
And that's why we need good leaders
Right.
Captain West is tremendous in his job field. Every job he's had with the DPS, that's why he's able to move up, because he's always been a team player, and he's very easy to talk to, and he's going to make sure that things get done for whether he's in a different division or if you're working in a different division, he's going to make sure that you can get that job accomplished the right way. So we're very lucky to have somebody like him on our department.
I'm trying to figure out what gets him mad. You know what I'm saying? Because
he's
because
pretty relaxed.
he's
You know,
right,
I
like
take a lot.
he's very
I take a
relaxed.
lot.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yes.
But you need to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you need to be
You gotta
jovial
keep your cool,
and laughing.
good head
you,
on your
you
shoulders.
got to,
Yeah.
because the thing is that I don't know what the difference of what you see versus what a trooper sees, right? But
Emails, lots of them.
the psychological factor of what everyone has to go through is tremendous, and so you know, I think it's fantastic. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right.
Oh,
You know what that means?
Yeah.
That means the show's over. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. It really means the world to me that you would take the time to come down here. I as much as we laugh and joke and all that type of stuff, I can only imagine how busy you really are. You know what I'm saying? Because I talk to him, and as much as I try to talk to him, he's always like, "I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm doing." You know what I mean? And so it's a very difficult thing. And so with Officer McClarty not being here, it means so much to us, because we really want to recognize always the parole and probation side of the Nevada State Police family. And so that's something that you were able to provide today, on top of which, from the civilian side of the jobs that are open,
Yeah.
right? We didn't talk about those. And so that's really wonderful, because now people know that there's more of the jobs open on both sides for the civilians. Let me ask you this one question before we go. So, for those jobs that you asked for the civilian side, right? So someone has to go through the academy, or they have a specific training like they do the dispatcher, where they have like a certain training period or something, or someone like they if someone is interested in doing that, like is there a lot of requirements?
So the civilian folks,
Right.
they have like a quasi academy, right? They have their training program and stuff. They're not as rigorous as like the sworn and stuff like that, but you know, they might have a 6-month training program that they'll go through, and then they'll get trained up and through their different facets and tasks of their job, and then be on their own, so to speak.
Okay. So we have great civilian jobs for parole and probation.
Absolutely.
We have great civilian jobs for the highway patrol, and definitively for the dispatchers.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like we have a lot of things that people would love and to be part of the family. And I come back to that, if we get people that are young, that like yourself, that have been there for a long period of time, you know, and even yourself, you know, that there's pensions and there's things like this that later on, you know, that you get, whereas most jobs you don't have that type of job security.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started when I was 22, and I'd be retired at 47.
But he has to wait until, what, 50 and 90? Or no, you do 25.
25.
You're on the old,
47.
So he'll
Right.
get a full retirement at 47.
47.
And you know what? He could take another job if he's kind of like greedy for money. But
Right.
I tell you what, he could
He
do
could
well on
fish
his
for the rest
salary
of his life.
and he can just travel and enjoy life. You know what I mean? But that's one of the benefits
Right.
that we have. And like I always say with the state troopers, when you look at other police agencies or whatever, you have to drive your car there and switch your stuff out of cars and all.
Yeah.
Your office is your cruiser. You
Drive
hit
time.
on at home. You start work from home, and you end at home from work. So they pay for
So
all your
driving
maintenance
in,
and everything.
changing, donning,
everything.
doffing your uniform, and then driving back.
Yeah.
So your 10-hour day that could potentially have gotten to 12 or 13 because you got stuck on a call for overtime ends up being a 15-ish hour day by the time you're driving in and all the way back. For us, leave the call, go home.
Go right home.
Go right
and
home.
not only that, they're paying for your gas, which is saving you money.
And your car.
And your car.
And
And
it's
nobody
a nice
else.
car.
Yeah, nobody else uses your car. Your car is your car, or the way you set it up, and nobody else uses it, which is really nice. And I mean, how many other places do that? I mean, you got to think there's only 50, or actually 49 state troopers or officers throughout the whole United States.
Right.
And it's a very specific, what do you call it, job unit,
Job unit. And the thing is that we've heard, because we've talked, that when you work for other places, not that there's anything bad or anything like that, but when you don't have your own car, you've gotten in it and somebody leaves a Snickers bar, or somebody doesn't leave it with gas, or it's filthy, or it's, you know what I mean? And so Nevada State Police, they provide that.
And the latest of our weapons, all of our gear is phenomenal. They get the top gear, for all of our weapons and all of our uniforms and everything taken care of when you first start through the academy.
Yeah, we just bought our guys brand new 6-hour P365s, tack light, red dot sight on it.
For their handguns he's talking about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very nice stuff. So, but if you're looking at, like parole and probation or Nevada State Police, go to nevadastatepolice.com. And if you're a civilian, you can go to the same location. We're hiring in the parole and probation and on the highway patrol side for civilians too. And if you're pretty young and you want to try it out and see what dispatching's about, that might be something for you to try out too. So we're always hoping that people are interested, and we would like to accommodate if you'd like to come and see what it's about.
Yeah, and you doing it at 22 is the same thing like when we talk with Officer McClarty, that you can join at 20 and a half, and then at 21 you're done. And you know what I mean? Like you can work, and I mean, you have this whole life ahead of you after you've done your career. Whether if you want to do another position or something like that, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you wanted to, you can start a second career when you retire.
But he's going fishing, believe me.
Yeah.
He's got the fishing rod already. You know what I mean?
He's not gonna mess with it. Yeah.
And so thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
We're not gonna see you for a couple weeks coming up soon because you're gonna be running somewhere.
Yeah, we'll talk about when
we'll talk about that when you get back, and we're very excited.
We better pray for him, huh?
Right.
And we want to have everybody know, just your mobile's off, slow down, and always buckle up.
Always buckle up.
Yep.
You
Summer's here.
saved a life, and
That's right.
And that is probably one of the most wonderful stories, because it's the truth, and the thing is that it happened specifically. It's really wonderful. So I'm glad you shared it with me. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. All right, we're gonna turn to this camera, and then we're gonna wave, and we'll say, "See you later."
See you later.
See you later.